Hi guys, welcome back to another game review. Today I will be talking about, I wouldn't necessarily put them as my favorite games of all time, but it is definitely a series I've been loving for quite a long time. But I will of course only be talking about the first game in the series because these ones are fairly different between each one. That is Borderlands 1. Um, I'll kind of consider the remastered series as well, or the remastered version of the game, which mainly didn't do a ton, but upped a lot of the graphical fidelity of it. But Borderlands 1, before I forget, let me come enlighten myself with some things. Borderlands 1 has pretty apt review scores on a lot of other things. Where's your yeah, please give it to me because that gives me a lot of the information I just want to give you guys right now. How dare. Thank you. So, Borderlands 1 was a game developed by Gearbox and published by 2K. That's Gearbox you definitely might have recognized from this game a lot. This is Gearbox's kind of bread and butter for the most part. They have made a few other games, but this one's their like top one, I'm pretty sure. It did come out for the PlayStation 3 and 360 back in October 20th and October in 2009, October 23rd in 2009 for I believe a different region, North America and Pacific Island. No, Pacific our region area covers most of Europe and Africa alongside parts of Asia, South America. There's a little news for you for the PAL region. Microsoft Windows, it came out October 26th and 30th. OS December 3rd of 2010. A whole year later, man, they had to wait. And then it was re-released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in 2019 and April 3rd, and then for the Switch on May 29th of 2020. This game is what is now reformed as a looter shooter. The idea is that you get guns in the game as you go through, guns, shield, and then there's like one other thing, the artifacts that you get throughout the game. They slowly you'll kill things, get chests, get better loot, put on stuff. It's a game where you're likely not going to have a gun that you stick with until probably the very end of the game, in case you want to do New Game Plus or something like that. Premise is you're on a world called Pandora, far out. It's kind of like a wasteland world full of bandits and such. You're called a vault hunter, one of four in the first game. Um, your whole thing is going out to look for these vaults to find anything, whatever's inside of them. No one knows what's inside, and then you take on the role of them trying to get into it. You play as one of four vault hunters, and they do have special skills depending on who you play. Lilith is typically the first one you'll see, which is a siren. Pretty much, they have a unique power to themselves. There are many sirens throughout Borderlands, so all of them have unique powers to themselves. Lilith tends to be like kind of phoenix-ish powers. She can a lot of fire stuff and run really quick. Don't ask me why in Borderlands 1 she just runs like the speed of light. You have Brick. He is kind of your big tanky dude. His power is just punching things. He's fun. They're all fun. It's got really fun comedy in the series. That's kind of the big thing of it. It's like really funny, but it has like really good gameplay. I would give that really good gameplay. Um, uh, your next one would be Mordecai. He's your sniper. He's got like a bird named what's her name? She has a name. She's very important, by the way, the bird. She's throughout a couple of the games and everything. She's super cool. But he sends a bird out, attacks people, and then he can snipe at them and everything like that. And lastly, in the first game, you have Roland. He's kind of your soldier. He throws out a turret, a shielded turret for you to utilize. Um, and all of them are super fun, super viable to play as. I think you do have an absolute ton of replayability alone in just the four people to play as, not alone switching things up and playing with different guns throughout the game. Um, I of course won't talk too much about story stuff because story stuff involves spoilers, and I don't like giving you guys spoilers. These are reviews that I try to give you where they don't, where I'm trying to encourage you to play it in case you haven't played it your first time, or if I don't like the game, which is not too many, of course, maybe not take a chance on something if it's just not quite good enough. Um, but a few things, you're gonna meet quite a few cast of characters throughout the game, very silly and fun. There's probably going to be a couple you don't like. The main one you might hate and love at the same time is Claptrap. He tends to be one of the first ones you ever come across in these Borderland games. He's like the little robot, one wheel, 10 eye thing and everything. He's fun um, to play at, to see and everything. And he's the iconic character of Borderlands series. If you look at any of them, you're typically gonna see Claptrap in like all of it. Pretty much as you go through the game, like I said, there's different rarities to the guns, by the way, as well. Ranging in the color scheme they play as. Uh, White being your common, and then it goes all the way up to like orange or something for your legendary, and they scale up and down and all that. That's going to be your main focus of the game for a lot of it, is trying to find whatever is the next coolest gun. They have some pretty interesting guns. They put a lot of thought into the lore, um, enough that you were like, oh, there's a lot more to this than you thought. Like all the gun manufacturers have different personality kind of demonstrated to them based on the gun they use, such as like they have Atlas, which are kind of more high tech looking guns, and they have Hyperion, which are like really crazy, like shield guns and futuristic looking and all that. You got like Doll, which is old fashioned kind of like old like shotguns and double barrels and such like that. So there's a lot of thought put into these gun companies and a lot of the lore. This is a game that if you want to really dive into a world, like a really well constructed world, it's one of those, and I do recommend it wholeheartedly. Um, there are currently, since this is the first game, I will tell you there are currently 5 games in the series. I almost said 4. So you got Borderlands 1, 2, 3. They also have the pre-sequel, which came out after 2, before 3. Um, but it's meant to be a pre-sequel, before 1 and everything. And then they recently came out with Tiny Tina's, which is a medieval spin-off, like a D&D spin-off in a way. I'll talk about those, of course, in their separate videos, but just know one's pretty much, it's the one that has the least amount in it, because it was the first game. They've only increased and gotten mostly better since then, but it still has its place. It's still the first looter shooter to many people. Wonderful game. I played it a ton when I was a kid. I can't really talk much about my Steam hour count or anything because I haven't played it too much on the Steam, but I will tell you now, it is probably at minimum above 100 hours, but could be way higher depending on. I did play some of the remastered, so I can give you some hours in that. Let me see. It's down here somewhere. I passed it. These are alphabetical me. Is it in my record section? It probably is. Baby, that's another game to think about. Not you, not you. Maybe it was on PlayStation. Maybe that was what it was. I think it's on PlayStation. I had it rather than on Steam. I'll have to get it again then on Steam at some point. But um, a little bit of an after thing, by the way, for this, I do recommend taking a look at some mods. This isn't a game I definitely would say doesn't require any mods. It's a game that holds itself pretty high, but it does have a moderate modding community. And so take a look, see if there's anything you like. There's a lot that adds just like new things, like new guns and rarity types and maybe some new missions or something, in case you got the entire fill of the game, but you want some more. There might be some mods that add quite a few different things. There even might be a randomizer thing that could add infinite kind of to it. But I do heavily recommend this game to people. I'm sorry I can't make this like you would think how much I enjoy this game, it'd be a longer review, but most of the game is story. And I can't really talk too much about the story, in my opinion, just because I don't want to spoil it for you. Maybe if I ever get into like the deep looks at games or things, something like that, maybe I'll tell you more about it then. Which I've had the ideas before for that kind of thing, but till then, for now, I'm just gonna keep it spoiler free. That way, you guys get a new experience if you haven't played it. I do give the game a 9 out of 10. I know it's a pretty high score. It's not 10 out of 10 quite for me for the first game. I'll give you that. For the first game, I wouldn't quite say it's a 10 out of 10. But it's pretty close. It does have a special place in my heart to me. It's one that I may eventually get a tattoo of at some point, because I put so many hours in the game and I do enjoy them, and they brought me much happiness playing them. So I do heavily recommend it. As always, I like to ask you to like and comment. Have you played the first Borderlands before? Many people have. Who of the Vault Hunters did you pick? Is there one that you picked and just kept with for the entire time? Have you played all four? If you did, which one do you like the most out of the four? Do you hate Claptrap? We'll see in the comments. Does Claptrap win or not? I love him. He's silly. I like him a lot. But as well, I like to ask you to subscribe if you do. I think you're wonderful. If you don't, I still think you're wonderful. So it's completely up to you. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.